Alright guys, welcome back to the Fighter Jet channel. Today we are going to be starting the suspension rebuild on the 1985 Corvette here. I do have the car on jack stands, as you can see. Everything is supported. I have all four wheels off at the moment. Fresh from Germany, of course. I got Bilsteins with the Z51 package suspension. My car is a base model car, but I did want to go for the Z51 upgrade to have a bit of a stiffer handling ride. I do apologize if the lighting is a bit bad, but what we're going to be doing here to start is, like I said, the rear shock absorbers. As you can see, mine are right here. I do have this wrench set up right here to get ready. But the first thing that you guys are going to want to do is get a floor jack, or any jack. You can use your emergency roadside jack as well. And just lift up this rear axle here to take some of the pressure off the suspension, because when you drop that shock absorber, it is going to come down. So I'm going to get my floor jack set up right on the lower end of the suspension here. Just going to lift up a little bit, just have that supported. As you can see, I have it right on this lower knuckle right here. So on this 1985, it does have the generic style of mount, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. 1986 and up has a different style of the top mount with 2 bolts going up into the frame rail. However, this one is just the regular rod style mount, and that bolt is going to be a 18mm. Luckily, it is not too hot today. We got a crisp roughly 70 degrees, so nothing crazy. Got that 18 on there. And just so you guys know, I did go around all 4 shocks and take some PB blaster at all of the fasteners, both nuts up here, both down here, as well as the front shocks. For those who don't know, PB blaster is a penetrating fluid that just helps get things undone. So now that this is broken loose, I did start getting it to turn, and now these now the stud itself is starting to turn a bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take another wrench and put it on there. All right, I got another 18 on here on a breaker bar. Normally I would say use a deep socket. As you can see, it's not fully on the nut there, but since we're not applying much pressure and it's just to hold the other side, shouldn't be too big of a deal. All right, this is finger loose now, and we got that stud out. Of course, I don't have space here. I'm gonna try to push that back, get the wrench off, and this should just pull right out here, hopefully. There we go, and that is your upper shock bolt right there. And now we have this bottom shock bolt, which I believe is a 21 on the front here, and that should be the 18 on the rear again. That's perfect. No need to go back to the toolbox. All right, I have this ready to rest on the ground to hold the backside. I'm just going to go ahead and start undoing this front one. Finger loose once again. It helps things go a little faster. Ooh, definitely do not want to lose that washer. We are going to be reusing this stud here. I probably should have taken that out while it was in there. That just goes on that nut. Again, keep track of your washers. You have another one right here. But that's it. This is my old shock. I just wanted to show you guys how bad these shocks were real quick. I can go ahead and compress that with almost no force, and there is no spring back whatsoever. So these shocks are well beyond blown, let alone the shock bushings being like completely gone almost. I mean, look at the cracking on that up here. It is not looking too good either. All right, now for the passenger side, of course, it's going to be the identical procedure. I'm going to go ahead and zip through this side for you guys. Obviously, you just saw it. Like I said, it is the same exact process. This should just slip right out of there. Just about. Keep these together for later. Again, take your 21 mil on the bottom. Obviously, this side is going to be releasing the opposite direction. Then get your back on after you break it loose. The PB blaster definitely makes a difference. These are all zipping right out just with hand tools. Luckily, you might have a different experience at home, but I hope for you that you don't. And that one pops just back out again. Let's test this one out. Almost no pressure. and no spring back whatsoever. All right, so because I don't have a socket or a crescent wrench or an open-end wrench big enough to fit on here in order to get this nut off and replace the stud onto the new shock, I did go over to a friend's house who had a vise. I stuck this side in the vise and simply used the socket on there. Recommend you guys do that if you don't have a large enough socket or wrench to fit on there. From here on out, we are good to go ahead and install the new Bilstein shock. I am very excited for this. It should pretty much be the reverse of taking it out. So I'll put it up here first, line this stud down here, make sure everything is going in correctly, like so. And from there, you simply take your washer and nut from last time and place it right back on, again in the reverse order that you took it out, as so. And now that we have the shock in place, I realized it is probably a bit of a better idea to leave the lower side unfastened and out so that we can align this part up here first. So I will slide that in like so. Don't have to thread it down, I just want to keep things organized. And from there, try to line it up with the lower suspension, and by doing that we are going to lift and lower the jack until the stud goes into the knuckle down there. So right now I'm a little high on the suspension. We'll lower it down. Just went a little too low. I'll lift it back up. It should go in there. I'm simultaneously lifting the jack ever so slightly to allow that stud to get in there. That looks to be good. Looks to be good up here. And from here on out, I'm going to go ahead and get this washer and nut back on, again the way we took it out. And same thing up here. Not much room in here, but slowly but surely you will tighten them up. Ow, that did not feel good. All right, now that I have the rear shocks installed here on both sides and torqued to spec, I'm going to go ahead and start the front. So in order to do that, as you can see, we do have this nut up here, and we have two bolts down here that are holding the bottom side on. In order to get to the nut up top here, we are going to have to remove this access panel. It is a plastic one held on by a ton of 10mm bolts. And also, in order to remove that, we do have to remove the weather stripping along the side of the fender here. This weather stripping here is held on by a few, I believe, 7mm bolts, so we are going to go ahead and remove those. There is 1, 2, I'm seeing 3 in total. And this weather stripping should pull right up and off of the fender half. There we go. Put that off to the side here. And then we could take our 10mm and start going at it. All right, so after a whole lot of attempting different things, well, basically I moved the access panel enough to reach the top. This is a bit of a pain to get out, so I didn't move it all the way. And after all that, I realized that what I was told online was wrong. I guess maybe it's for a different year. There's supposed to be a hex on top of the shock stud, but mine did not have any at all. I went ahead and just used a Sawzall and cut the top of the stud right off. If this is not too hot, I can just start pulling things apart now. The new shock absorbers do come with new hardware. Obviously the stud is part of the shock, so there's no worry about cutting that off. Honestly guys, I probably do recommend just cutting it off, especially if yours does not have the hex on top of the stud. But from here on out, you're going to take a 13mm to the two bottom nuts here, or screws, and we're just going to work these guys out. And as far as that access panel goes, there were more than I originally expected. So my 85 has this style of hood holder, and that screws in to these two. So the hood holder does have to be removed. I have the hood currently held up with my jack stand, with my jack handle. There's 1, 2, that's these two right here, 3, 4, 5, 6, which are these, 7. And then on here on the bottom of the access panel, there's 1, 2. And then the other side of the bottom access panel here, there's 1, 2, 3. Let me get up and show you guys that. I'll give you a better view. Right here, see if you can see that. Right here, there is 1, 2, and 3 right here. So yeah, it is a bit of a pain. Like I said, it was hard to even start getting it out. It gets caught on this coolant line going to the heater core. It gets caught on this other line down here, so that's why I only moved it out just enough to be able to get access to the top of the shock stud here. It does pull out fully if you really wanted it to, but like I said, I'm not going to be doing my bushings today. I am only going to be doing the shocks today, so I didn't need to pull it out fully. When I do the bushings, I will need to pull it out fully because this whole entire control arm piece here will need to come out. Thought I'd have to compress it, but I might get away with slipping it through here. Yep, all right. So no need to compress it. If you pull it out and then down, it should just pull right out like that. And you can just see how absolutely horrible my bushing is. I mean, this is just non-existent at this point. The new shock does come with this entire piece new. Obviously it comes with new bushings. And let's give this a compression test. Oh yeah, absolutely gone. So I've had no shocks in my car this entire time since buying it, and I guess you know, it really didn't feel that bad. The car still handled well. The bumps weren't horrible, but yeah, it's definitely very, very bad, as you can see. Anyway, I have one more piece here that has to come out. Looks like this just pulls out as one, and that is it. Let's get that new shock in there. So if you guys can see that, there right here is that hex. If you look inside the nut, there's that hex I was talking about. So you're going to want to take these top two bushings off right here, as so. Sorry, it's a little tricky with this camera on my forehead. It's not exactly in my view. Alright, so now I'll just go ahead and slide this one on down in here very carefully, not to mess up that beautiful new yellow paint. So let me pull this back out. I will go down here and then stick it up in that shock tower. Oh boy, now I'm gonna have to jack that back up. Let me get the top seated on here first. That has sort of like a nipple on it on the bottom rubber there. That's gonna go in the hole, of course. And I will lift it back up and get that nut threaded on there like so. All right, my GoPro battery died, so I will be continuing on here. I do have to speed things up a little bit. I'm getting the bottom two threaded, and the top will get on in a few minutes, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm really not even sure where the video cut out, but this is a little marker for me. So like I was saying, this is how it's supposed to go. I have a wrench here with a hex on it, and you simply take your open end or crescent wrench and turn the nut. All right, we have finally gotten the front passenger in. These get torqued to, I believe, 22 foot-pounds. This, I believe, is 19 foot-pounds, or you don't really need to torque it. You just need to have the bushing bulge out about equal to this washer here, and that is looking good to go. So now I'm going to do the front driver's side. We are 3/4 of the way done. Rears are done. Fronts are almost there. All right, so we have finished 4 out of 4 of the new shock absorbers. The Bilstein Z51s are fully installed. Like I said, the rears were very easy. The fronts were not so easy. And the only reason the fronts are not so easy is because of dealing with this access panel on both sides. On the right side, I ended up doing the correct way. As you saw, I pulled back the access panel, but I had an idea, which is a little bit of a hack. In my opinion, it's something that the engineer should have included back in the 80s, which was drilling a hole right in the top here, simply to access the top nut and the hex that you need to get in there to screw on that top nut. It is a bit silly to me to have to remove this entire access panel just to be able to fit a hex on here. That's the sole reason. So what I went ahead and did was I drilled a hole onto the top plastic here. Some of you might call me crazy for that, but I really don't mind because it is covered by this wiring loom here, and you're never going to notice it otherwise, and it will make all future shock replacements go a lot quicker. Again, I think it is a bit silly that you need to remove that access panel. There's so many different bolts, a few things you have to remove. So I went ahead and just drilled a hole, and it made it so much easier. Another tip, what I ended up doing, because I didn't remove the access panel on this side, what I ended up doing to remove the old shock was simply taking a C-clamp and clamping down on the old shock to hold it from spinning while I removed the nut. That way you don't need the hex on the top. But to reinstall this new one, I did end up going ahead and drilling a hole, and it made it go in a lot quicker. So that's a little tip for you guys. That's what I did. Like I said, I don't mind, it's covered up, and you drill one small hole in some plastic. It's not like it's structural or anything. It literally is just a cover for the shock. You drill one hole and every future shock replacement is 10 times easier and probably a good 30 to 40 minutes faster without having to deal with that access cover. So that's what I recommend doing. That's what I did. Again, you guys can do it at your own discretion and decide what you want to do. If you want to go the long and correct route, that's fine. If you want to take a little bit of a shortcut that really doesn't matter much to the car at all and how the car looks, I'd say go ahead and drill that hole. You're really not losing anything. On this side as well, it is covered. You're never going to see that hole. This isn't really protecting any dust or anything, so it's really not too big of a deal. That's what I recommend doing. I did go ahead and take the car for a very long test drive. I haven't driven it in 2 weeks, so I had to kind of get the Corvette itch out of my system, and man, is it way better. The car is driving very well. The bumps are just a massive difference. Bumps in this car used to be pretty horrible, and now it is taking bumps like a new car. Of course, it's still a little stiff. It is a sports car. These are Z51 shocks. However, it is a whole lot better than it was before. And of course, the handling has improved quite a bit. As I said earlier, the car always handled well. However, having these stiffer shocks in there just lets it be a whole lot more stable while doing that well handling. Before, again, it did handle well, but now it's just a whole lot more stable. I trust the car more at higher speeds, especially around turns at higher speeds. It's just a massive difference, but I would say the bumps are the thing that you're going to notice the most. I can confidently take potholes now without worrying about jumping the car around and bottoming out my suspension. It's just a lot smoother of a ride and a whole lot more comfortable. But anyways, that's going to be it for today, guys. The shock replacement is done. As I said, I won't be doing my bushings yet. Again, life got in the way a little bit, and I do have my Corvette museum trip coming up, and I do not think I will be able to get these bushings done in time by myself. I'd like to take my time and do it right and thoroughly clean my whole suspension, because it is, as you can see, quite dirty. So that's what I plan to do. I also would like to do the ball joints as well, which again, I just will not have time for before that trip. But the shocks were the number one thing I did want to get done before the trip. As you saw, the bushings on the front end were absolutely non-existent, and this is going to be a 13-hour drive, which I more than trust the car for. However, those shocks did need to come out. There's no way I would have taken that trip on the old shocks. It would have been a pretty poor idea. The bushings can wait though. They are, you know, starting to show their cracking and signs of age, as you can see right here. However, they are still relatively tight and they're not really going anywhere. So that's even for the front. The rears are actually even in better shape as far as bushings go. So again, I will be doing that once I come back. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this video did help. I do apologize if it wasn't completely clear or completely as in-depth as you would like. I tried to throw in some extra tips and tricks there. But I do hope it helped you guys at least some degree. So thank you for watching. I really do appreciate the support from you guys. It does make all the difference. Please try to share this video to any other C4 owners you know, or anybody who's looking into buying a C4, and hopefully this can help them get prepared for some of the repairs that they're going to do in the future.